What did you see on your end?
What was I seeing on the field, or what was I thinking, or what are you asking?
What were you thinking on the field when BYU scored that second goal? How do you respond from that?
I was thinking, are you kidding me? How can we have them by the throat and have them come down and on their one shot hit this beautiful ball into our upper corner? That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, this game is just not fair. That's exactly what I was thinking.
What was the discussion at halftime? You guys came out, you had the first 10 shots of the second half and really gave it to them. What was the plan coming in after halftime?
It wasn't so much a plan. The only things we talked about in any depth was compaction. That BYU team has a lot of individual skill. So every player on the field for BYU had the ability to keep the ball, but also beat us off the dribble. So if we have as a distance between our center forward and our center back, 45 yards, which is what I saw most of that first half, they're going to pick us apart and play right through us. And so what was critical is to basically make the game more compact. Because if you make it compact, they have no space in midfield. Their only option is to bang it over the top, and then of course your goalkeeper picks it up. So the main message we shared at the half was to play with a superior compaction. But then what we noticed in the first 20 minutes of the second half is they were exhausted, and we weren't. This is where our substitution patterns serve us so well, because those reserves in the last 15 minutes of the first half I thought played really well, especially the girl you interviewed. She created one or two chances for herself, and basically I think that reserve unit, where usually if they're not playing well they get picked apart by an elite opponent, they weren't picked apart. The reserves, in our opinion, sort of outplayed their reserves when they subbed them in. But once the second half began, it looked like they were just exhausted and we weren't. And so the players I want to credit are Avery Patterson, who is improving before our eyes. Now, obviously, she's our leading scorer, so how can you just point her out as someone that's improving? But she is. Because her ability to score goals is certainly unique and very positive. But her game intelligence isn't anywhere near her goal-scoring ability, which is sort of a counterintuitive statement. What she was doing today and what she's been doing the last month or so is her decision-making is getting better and better and better. So if you look at the goals that we scored, a lot of those were set up through Avery Patterson, and a lot of our attack went right through her. So for me, the two players of the game were obviously Darlene, but also Patterson. And then just because they're unsung heroes, ever since the Virginia Tech game, this defense, and keep in mind, it's been shredded by losing Macy Bell and then by losing basically her, right? And then losing Abby Allen. We lost basically three elite center backs. And for that defense to still play at their level is extraordinary. And I certainly want to credit Tori Hansen, who should win, all kinds of awards that she has already. But also a kid we took from right back that won a lacrosse championship in the spring, shifted her into the center back holes that were basically formed by all of these injuries. And I give nothing but full credit for Julia Dorsey as well. And then a player like Emily Moxley. Emily Moxley must run 20 miles a game, because she was not only not subbed out once in the last two games. This one in the game 2 days ago. But she is playing a combination of right wing back in a 1-3-5-2, but also right back in a 4-3-3, because the reserves are playing a 4-3-3 and the starters are playing a 1-3-5-2. So I credit my backs. And then Emerson Elgin, who, by the way, her freshman year was my starting left back until she got hurt. And now you're starting to see why she won the start as a freshman. Because her tackling ability and speed and decision making are extraordinary, especially for someone that hasn't played that many minutes in the last 2 years. But now she's locked down as a starter for us at left back, and I give her nothing but full credit as well.
Coach, quick question. On Thursday, you talked about the formation and the change to this new formation that was going to be a better style for the team. How has that benefited both last game and now this game as well?
Well, I think all you have to do is to add up our scores in the last three games. 5, 3, and 3. And if you look at the challenges we had last year, just scoring. So I think this has been a very good decision for us. It also allows us to put people on the field in positions that favor them. like Darlene, for example. And we've got Darlene and Maggie Pierce and now Allie Gambone, based on how she played, as basically starters, because what we did in the second half is we did 11 on, 11 off, 11 on, 11 off for Darlene Cox, but also for Della Peruta, Talia Della Peruta and Allie Gambone. And then also what we've done all year, which is Maggie Pierce and Libby Moore. So now we have a formula for how we're going to progress. Those kids, we basically have, interesting enough, we have 14 starters, because those 3 kids come off the bench, and if they can, we can't work it out perfectly, but they should play equal minutes with the kids that start. And you can see the impact Darlene had coming off fresh. So we think all these little adjustments have made a big difference for us. And then obviously the collective. I mean, the team supports each other. We talked about that in the pregame. We showed this great picture of our kids at Wake Med during the ACC tournament, because we had to throw a certain number of kids in the stands, which is ridiculous, by the way. But the NCAA allowed us to keep all of our kids on the bench. And we had all the kids in the stands leaning over the fence with all the kids on the field hugging them as they're leaning over the rail at Wake Med Park. And that was symbolic of where this team is right now, because they totally support each other. And they're a team on a mission, because I thought they grounded out today against a very talented BYU team. So we're very excited to be where we are.
What about the chemistry between Patterson and Darlene there in the second half? They just really connected.
That's why I wanted to highlight both of them as players of the match, because in the old days, Patterson would have figured out a way to shoot it. You know what I'm saying? And now what she's doing, which is where her game intelligence is jumping, she's figuring out how to involve her teammates, because she's a brilliant dueler. She's great in the air. She's great in the 1v1 duels offensively and defensively. But what she's doing now, she's learning to use her teammates. And so there's a multiplication factor for her when she uses her teammates, as opposed to what she would add to us is a sort of an addition factor, because she's an elite player. So as this piece starts to become a part of Avery Patterson's game, the sky's the limit for her growth. And so we're very happy, certainly with the win today, but the performance of those two, I thought were extraordinary.
How do you feel Patterson's role on the team or play has changed at all in this 3-5-2 formation?
It gives her, in a way, more responsibility, because not only does she have to attack, but she has to defend. Because basically, the left midfielder in a 3-5-2 and the right midfielder in a 3-5-2 are the left back, left midfielder, left wing. Because they have to basically dominate the whole sideline offensively and defensively. As you saw in the second half, we didn't take Patterson out. She's good in the air, she's good in the tackle, she's incredible 1v1, and she's unbelievably competitive. If you look at my competitive cauldron, she was the competitive cauldron winner, I think, for the last 2 years. So in practice, she kicks everyone's ass in, and in the game, they're very few. And by the way, the right back for BYU was one of the highlighted players that we talked about in our pregame, because we think she's one of their best players, and Avery just ended up dominating her.
One other question. Thursday, you talked about the benefit of being a day before every other team playing, and the advantageousness of that. Talk about now playing Saturday, another win and another advantageous to get a Sunday off.
Yes.
How does that make you
First
feel?
of all, we get a longer taper into the next game, because all the other teams are playing tomorrow. But also we get to sit there and experience one of my favorite emotions, which is Schadenfreude. Schaden is the German word for damage. Freude is the German word for joy. And so when you're experiencing Schadenfreude, you're enjoying watching your enemies suffer. And we just can't wait to have these teams just pick each other apart as we sit there in the comfort of our living rooms, as we celebrate the destruction of, half of the bracket. So yeah, we can't wait for tomorrow. I'm looking. I mean, I am going to go to church, because the nice thing about, I am, by the way, a Mormon. So LDS. I mean, that's the BYU group. So I now have the opportunity to go to church, thanks to the fact we played Thursday, Saturday. So I'm going to, basically be thankful for that. And then I'm going to be thankful at the other extreme, as I'm looking forward to watching all of our enemies suffer.
Pulling for TCU so you get a home game?
We are rooting for TCU. I have no issue, putting that out there. I'd be hypocritical to pretend that, we don't care who wins. No, we're rooting for TCU.
Thanks, Coach.
And then you got the 2 players of the game then, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got enough on both of them?